Do you ever feel like you're drowning in guitar advice, unsure of what you should be practicing? One video says learn modes, the next video forget modes. Someone tells you to master arpeggios, another says just play pentatonics. And you're left thinking, shouldn't I be better by now? If that's you, this video is your filter. I've taught guitar for over 30 years. Pros, hobbyists, even at the college level. And I've seen this over and over. Players wasting months and even years working on the wrong things at the wrong times. And I've been there too. I'm a total music theory nerd. I love this stuff. But I've also learned the hard way that knowing a lot does not necessarily make you a better player. So before I dive in, there's a link in the description to all the diagrams that I'll be using today, as well as the backing track that I'll be creating. You don't need it all. You don't need to learn everything. And honestly, you never will. None of us will. The real secret is learning the right thing for where you are at and ignoring the rest. If it's not useful to you now, it won't stick. That's why so many people binge watch tutorials, but never feel like they're improving. Trying to learn guitar from YouTube is like filling a water glass with a fire hose. You wanted to understand one concept, and now you're neck deep in modes, half diminished chords, and altered scales. And yep, I've made that mistake too. In one of my recent videos, I explained the 6 main chords in every key. Someone called me out for glossing over the 7th chord, the diminished one. But here's the truth. If I go into that, I'd have to explain the difference between a fully diminished chord and a half diminished chord. Then I'd have to explain secondary dominants. Then that would lead to minor 2-5-1s. Then the Phrygian dominant scale, and then the altered scale. And suddenly you're an hour deep and more confused than when you started. And none of it helps if you don't even know what the 6 main chords are in a key. So how do you break free from that spiral and actually start improving? You focus on the foundational skills that actually matter. Nail these and everything else will click. The 3 essential skills. Over the years, I've identified the 3 essential skills that guitarists, no matter what style, need to build a solid foundation and grow into being a great player. In this video, I'll give you an overview of those skills. If you want to go deeper, I have videos on each one of these skills here on my channel. Plus, I have an ebook package on my website that breaks these down into even more detail. I'm also working on full video courses to help you master this step by step. The number system. Most songs use the same 6 chords over and over. The number system shows you what those chords are, how they relate, and why they work. Learn it and you're not just memorizing songs, but you're understanding them. That changes everything. So the number system is a simple formula. If you take any major scale, there is a chord from each note of the scale. This formula is true for every key. The chords from the 1st, 4th, and 5th notes of a scale are major, and those from the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th notes of the scale are minor. So let's take the D major scale. So going up the scale, we get D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So the chords in the key of D are the 1 chord D major, the 2 chord E minor, the 3 chord F sharp minor, the 4 chord G, the 5 chord A, and the 6 chord B minor. The 6 chord holds a special significance as it's the relative minor. In other words, the key of D and the key of B minor are the exact same key. Same scale, same chords. Start with the 1 chord, your song sounds happy. Start with the 6 chord, your song sounds dark. You could probably hear how this group of chords sounded good together, even when I just strum them in order. If you string these chords together, you can write a song. For example, let's play D, F sharp minor, A, G. Or maybe B minor, E minor, G, A. Songs in the key of D rely on these 6 chords. And this formula is the same for every key. So now I'm going to record a simple 2-chord song that we can then use as a backing track for exploring the next 2 skills. So now I'm just going to take the first 2 chords, D major and E minor, and record them to a drum groove that I programmed. Then we can move along to the next skill. The caged system. The cage system is a very useful way of mapping out the neck of the guitar, but not all of the caged shapes are useful. I like to break them down into what I call the practical caged shapes, the one that you see used in songs. These shapes let you move chords all over the neck, and they lay the groundwork for highlighting the chord changes when you solo. So here's a diagram highlighting what I call the practical caged shapes of D and E minor. I'm going to go through these shapes kind of quickly, but I have other videos on my channel that just focus on these practical cage shapes and go at a much slower pace. The purpose of this video is really to highlight all 3 essential skills and how you can put those to use. First, let's look at the practical cage shapes for the chord D. So I start with the open D chord, or the D shape of D, and then the C shape of D, the practical C shape, is connected by these 2 notes. So that's what I call the practical C shape of D. And it comes from this big theoretical C shape of D, but this shape is kind of impractical to play. So you see a lot of the pros simplify this and distill it down to this shape. Next up is the A shape of D, and you may find this one familiar. And then that connects to the practical G shape through these 3 notes. That's what I call the practical G shape. You actually see this one show up in quite a few songs. The full theoretical G shape is this one. It's quite difficult to play. I've never actually seen that one show up in a song. Next up is the E shape, and many of you are familiar with this bar chord. But a lot of times you see the pros distill that one down into this little shape, which looks like an F chord, but the F chord is actually a little partial of the E shape. And then from there, the note that your ring finger is holding is where the imaginary capo goes for the D shape. And then that D shape connects back to the C shape, and the whole thing would start over. Just a little note, because of these 2 pairs of chords having so many notes in common, I think of the D shape and the practical C shape as sort of one shape. And I also think of the A shape and the G shape as one shape because they have so many notes in common. So to summarize, I have the D, C shape, the A, G shape, and the E shape of a D chord. Now let's look at the minor caged shapes for E minor. The minor cage shapes are often overlooked because they aren't as obvious as the major cage shapes, but they are just as important. We start with the E minor shape, which in this case is just the open E minor chord. Then that is connected from this note to the D minor shape. The D minor shape connects to the C minor shape. This C minor shape is an easy and practical shape that often gets overlooked. Then comes the A minor shape. Many of you will be familiar with that one. And then last up is the G minor shape, which is a very impractical shape. But this little fragment of it is quite practical. It's the first chord of Little Wing. But this shape connects back to the E minor shape. So I really think of the G minor shape as being part of the E minor shape. So to go through those quickly again, we have the E minor shape, the D minor shape, that connects to the C minor shape, to the A minor shape, to the G minor shape, which connects back to the E minor shape. So now I'm going to use these cage shapes to craft a rhythm guitar part for our backing track. Keep in mind that you can play smaller fragments of these shapes to come up with a cool part. landmark pentatonic method. So for soloing, I focus on two essential shapes, shape number 1 and shape number 4 of the pentatonic scale. And then I use diagonal extensions to cover the rest of the neck. This approach helps you unlock the whole fretboard with confidence using only two basic shapes. Once you see it, soloing in any key makes sense. It's really freeing. So here's a quick demonstration of my method. First, I locate the note D on the low E string, which is here at the 10th fret. Then I put my pinky on that note and I get shape number 1 of the pentatonic scale. Then I move back 2 frets and I get the diagonal extensions of shape number 1. Next, I locate the note D on the A string. That would be here at the 5th fret. I put my pinky on it and I get shape number 4. I move back 2 frets to get the diagonal extensions of shape number 4. Notice in this key it will involve open strings. And those same shapes would repeat 12 frets higher. So I could find D here at the 17th fret and play shape number 4. Move back 2 frets and get the diagonal extensions for shape number 4. And then shape number 1 would repeat all the way up here at the top of the neck. So with just that information, I've covered the entire neck of the guitar. So now let's put it all together. If you're not confident in these 3 skills, the number system, the caged system, and the landmark pentatonic system, stop chasing the next flashy trick or random YouTube hack. That stuff might be fun, but it's not going to build the confidence that you're looking for. This is where your focus should be. Dial it in and get these 3 tools under your fingers. Suddenly, the fretboard will make sense. You'll know where to go when you solo. You'll understand why chords fit together. And you'll finally feel that you're in control of your playing, not just guessing or memorizing shapes with no context. This isn't about learning more, it's about learning what matters the most. Again, if you want to go deeper, I have videos on each of these skills on my channel, plus an ebook package on my website that breaks them down into more detail. Practical, no fluff, just waiting for you to dive in. I'm also working on full video courses to help you master this step by step. In the meantime, check out this video. It's the most important concept that guitarists often overlook. And thanks. See you next week.